Hello, welcome back to another episode of Freshly Spoiled with Monique and Ryan.
Hi.
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 Um, so yesterday we went and saw All We Imagine as Light, which both of us are having a hard time remembering the name of.
Looked up 2 seconds ago.
I keep wanting to say All We See is Light because that's a true statement. I don't know All We Imagine as Light. I'm not really sure what that means. I mean, I kind of, there was a poem involved that was hinted about it a little bit, but this is probably the least likely for people to come across and be like, oh, I just watched that movie. I'd
Yeah.
like to watch a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But we
Because
saw
I
it on,
just found out about it yesterday
yeah,
when you were like, oh, we should go see it. Okay.
yeah. Well, backstory: we were out at breakfast and we're trying to watch all these movies that have buzz behind them. So I looked up a list of movies, and this was playing at the film at Lincoln Center,
Yeah, Lincoln Center.
which is cool. We'd never been there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not just it's a cool place to see a movie.
Yeah.
But I knew nothing about it. I just saw it was on a list of movies contending for possibly being nominated for Best Picture. So, that was good enough for me to want to go see it. So, yeah, we drove in and saw it, and it's nice when you go to see a movie and you have no idea what you're about to watch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I don't
mind
know anything about this. And we're gonna find out if I'm have any interest in this movie.
What
So
did you think?
we're gonna get right to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't think it's an easy answer. What did I think? I thought at the beginning of it, I wasn't super into it. As it went, I got more into it. I think I ended up liking it at the end. I think I was curious if my enjoyment of it came as an American interested in this life that it's so foreign to me.
Yeah.
Like that was my favorite thing about it, is getting a glimpse. It was really slice of life thing, which I love a slice of life movie, you know. So I don't necessarily need more than that in a movie.
Yeah, that's what I like about foreign films. Is like just seeing how other people live, the
Yeah.
landscape, the city,
Yeah.
their language, how they interact with each other, what they eat, what
Yeah.
they do.
How they live, like
Yeah.
they live in spaces that we as Americans look like. I that's so foreign to me. I can't imagine living like that. So I really enjoyed all that about it. I enjoyed all that about it, but I wondered, like, so what audience was this made for? Because if I was in India and I watched this movie, no, none of that is a mystery to me. Then now you're just watching people living a life, and it did touch on a lot of topics that are worth examining. Arranged marriage and forbidden love, and just working people, corporate greed, or there was like a lot of things that were buried in this slice of life movie, big topics. But yeah, I'm wondering, like, if I lived in that country and I was already aware of all these things, would I have been interested in it? So I'm thinking, like, as an American watching this, I think if I'm just thinking about, like, for me, like, I think I liked it a lot. I think I liked the movie a lot but I'm thinking, like, all right, so the director made this, and if I'm somebody who's watching this movie, I'm reiterating myself now, but
Yeah, it's interesting because like I was going in it being like, well, why did they make this?
yeah,
Like, what is worth telling of this story? And I guess that's kind of along the same lines. Like, what's your audience? What are you trying to get across?
So what did you end up thinking?
So I kind of like was the opposite. Like I liked it in the beginning, and then, and not that I didn't end up liking it, but it had a lot of space in it, a lot of like quiet, a lot of a lot of sounds. And once again, I'm just susceptible to this, but the way they spoke was like, I don't know, I fell asleep. I really did. Like there was probably like a half an hour. It was a
2-hour movie.
Yeah. And probably for a good half an hour, I was in and out of like dazing.
So my question is, do you have to excuse yourself from this conversation if you slept
No,
for
because
half?
I feel like I didn't miss anything. I feel like there was
Well,
a
you
lot of, and like you said, you don't,
but if
you
you
know,
told the filmmaker, if you went to the filmmaker and said, "Oh, I really loved your movie," like I did fall
I
asleep for a
didn't,
half
but I
hour, but
wouldn't say I loved it.
or even like I did, or okay,
I
so even
enjoyed
even
it.
even worse, like I'd said, like if you told the I didn't like your movie, I did fall asleep for a half hour. It was like, well, maybe you missed an integral part. Something could have happened in that time you were sleeping that would have made the
Well, let's
ending
talk
a
about it
different
and see
thing.
if I missed anything because I don't think I did.
I'm not saying you did either. I'm just saying like
I think
I would
it
never.
was just space and time and,
It was,
maybe some beautiful imagery or I don't know,
but
but
like, so I don't know what half hour you missed,
I
but there
don't
are
even,
definitely
I don't know
things that
either.
happened. There was no half hour period where something happened where that wasn't somehow integral to
And I mean,
the.
I'm making a half an hour up. It could have been 15 minutes. It could have been,
All
I
of a
don't
sudden,
know.
she's bringing it back. Now it's 15 minutes.
No, but I wasn't timing it, but I'm saying
I
it felt
understand that,
like a decent amount of
but
time for me to be like trying to keep myself awake. But anyway,
right,
let's not.
but an editor's job is to make sure that every frame of the movie is necessary.
I didn't think that was true.
Right, but
That's
no,
my
but you can say
opinion. I
no,
like.
absolutely. I'm not saying I'm not. There's nobody's saying anybody's wrong. I'm just saying like my opinion is that you need to watch every frame of a movie to have to understand by the end of it for it to make sense. Because something could happen at the end that would mean something different if something happened earlier in the movie that you missed. Like that can change the meaning of something that happens at the end of a movie. You know what I mean? Like that whole like a relationship dynamic. Like you could have missed like a
Well, okay, so I guess I'm just adamant about it because I'm kind of being like, no, I don't think I missed anything because the movie was over, I was like, did you understand everything? Were you like, oh, okay, I get it.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not saying for this movie that you did miss something. I don't. I think it was slow enough. I don't think anything
But
like that happened in this movie.
yeah, I don't think so either because
But
I was kind of, I'm like, sometimes it's hard for me to follow storyline
yeah,
even if I'm awake.
yeah,
um, but I was kind of confused. And then it was really great because I went to the bathroom directly after and this woman came up to me and she was like, "Oh, did you watch that Indian film?" And I was like,
Did
"Yeah."
she say that Indian film?
hmm Well, yeah,
She
this was
couldn't.
very funny because yeah, because she
She
couldn't
couldn't
remember
remember
the
the name
name
of it
either.
either.
Okay, I was like, yeah. Um, and then this other woman came up, three of us, three white women talking about the movie, and we were talking about like the man and the end, and um, so I'm gonna feel stupid if you don't think the same thing. But was it the same guy? Was the doctor the same guy at the end?
No,
No.
that
Okay.
wasn't the doctor.
Okay.
I did. It's a lot of times in this movie. I did feel like, am I racist? Because
Yeah.
I just
Well, so that
not everybody looked alike, but when I'm so goddamn white, and I'm so like I'm so suburban American white that when you step, they probably look at white people and think, oh, I can't
yeah.
really tell the difference. Like, okay, I see there's a brunette, and I see, but like, okay, so they're all.
Well, to be fair, I mixed up Bridget Everett and Fortune Feimster the other day.
Well, that's another
I
problem,
was
though. That's like a separate problem. It's like
I was like, wait, which one? um, but anyway, so then it was like the three of us talking, trying to like figure out what happened.
yeah,
And this woman came, she was Indian, and she came out of one of the stalls, like out of nowhere. Like she was like the people of the theater sent her to talk to these white women in the bathroom. And she's like, it wasn't the same man. Like it's a very common for Indian men to have the beard, the mustache and everything.
They were overweight, but I definitely, I didn't, my confusion was that the doctor, but he at some point, she was talking to him like she was actually her husband for a while at the end. That wasn't the part that you found confusing? I found his position confusing, but because they said the other woman that was caring for him thought that he was her husband, but only because they were, on the beach together and she saved them. So she didn't have any background to think that. But then she said decidedly, no, that's not my husband.
No, it's not. And it wasn't even real. It
No,
was a dream
that was
sequence.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that was my question. My opinion of that was she missed her husband so much. She wanted her husband so much, so she thought, that she took a moment to kind of daydream. It wasn't even, I don't think it was a dream sequence. I think it was a daydream sequence. I think it was,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that she took that moment to kind of live out this life and use this man as her husband to say goodbye to him and say I'm done. Like we're no longer married. And
Yeah,
like
to
I'm
be
like
able to move on
yeah, like
with her
for a
life.
moment you were questioning like somebody thought you were my husband, so you're good enough to say goodbye to. Like I'm saying goodbye to you as my husband.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really like that kind of made the movie a little more beautiful to me.
I liked it because it made sense of she was kind of like irritating to me the whole movie. Like I noticed she was kind of sullen and she was a
Yeah.
little bitter, um, and that made it make sense to me
Yeah, why she would be
why
like
she
that.
was
Yeah.
like that.
So I mean, but that relationship was really interesting to me. The other woman, I don't remember her. Let me pull up her name. Anu, I
Hmm.
guess, right? She
Yeah,
was like the
the
younger,
younger
kind of
one
like
was a new.
free spirited
Yeah.
one, and she was sneaking around with a Muslim guy, and I guess it was only forbidden because he was Muslim, right? That was the big issue there,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
I
he's
also
like,
felt made me feel like kind of ignorant. That I'm like, how do they even tell? Like, if you, to me, if he just shows up, like they can tell he's a Muslim just on sight. Like to me, they all
well,
looked
for
Indian to me.
him, for her, it was because of the headdress
Right, but
that she
but
has
I
to
understand
wear.
why she can be
Hmm.
identified in his village,
Right.
but he spent time around her area, part of town, and it wasn't super obvious. But then she was sneaking around like at work. She didn't want anybody. I think she was okay with strangers seeing that they were with her. So maybe there wasn't blatantly obvious that he was Muslim and they shouldn't be together. But people that she worked with and that she knew, she
Hmm.
didn't want her to see.
Yeah.
And also just to be seen with a man makes you a slut in that culture.
Hmm.
Like that they know
Or
that they're
even
not.
talking to a man
Yeah,
in
I
a
didn't realize that was.
like having a
Yeah,
funny conversation or whatever.
yeah,
Like,
I knew that was like a part of the Muslim culture. Was like it was very taboo. But then the Indian thing, I didn't realize that was so like her parents wanted to set her up.
yeah.
But I thought that was again, this is all coming from like an ignorant wipe. I would love to like know more about this. This is, an interesting topic to me, but I always thought it was like you could meet somebody and marry them if you find somebody, but at a certain age, it's like we're gonna take over. We want to marry you off and we're gonna find somebody. Like, is an arranged marriage the preferred method
Yeah,
of marriage in that
I'm pretty
culture?
sure. Yeah, I think it's like they go this is very bare minimum of knowledge, but I think it's like they find who a family that they feel is suitable
Yeah.
and,
Should we call Ari another white person, but
but she
somebody who
she
has
has, yeah,
somebody who
a
has
connection to
more of a
Indian
connection to
family.
Indian
Yeah.
people? Um,
Yeah, let's get her on the line.
um, yeah, it was. I like I said, it was slow. I thought it was maybe a little too slow at times, but I was appreciating. I was appreciating. I gotta learn how to make that not go to sleep so we can watch ourselves. I was appreciating that life and kind of I found it so fascinating, and I thought at the end also really beautiful that she saw her with this guy and made her feel okay about it. She's like, "Where's the boy you were with?"
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, she
and
definitely
like,
came around.
yeah,
Hmm.
because and she came around after she said goodbye to her husband, realizing like, yeah, I'm living in like this whole structured thing is making me unhappy. It's
Yeah.
making me it's not the life I want.
Yeah.
Why am I putting that on this woman who is more open to living outside of these confines?
Hmm.
So let me make her feel better about it now rather than putting like making her feel like she needs to put up with like, yeah, run away with this man. Like this is what you should have is um and her like that line where she said, I couldn't marry a stranger, like because that's essential, these
Arranged.
she never talked to her husband before she got married.
Yeah.
And then the line of like, but you can think you know somebody and years later you can find out they're actually a stranger to you.
Right.
So I thought that whole like duality of arranged marriage and what you think is true love, but you can never know. Like they can cross over each other at
Yeah.
any point. Like a stranger can be your true love, and a true love can become a stranger.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think other than it, being a little bit slow, I thought it was ended up being like a beautiful story and like a nice, uh, you know, zoom in on a culture that I'm not really familiar with.
Yeah.
Again, but because I'm not familiar with it. I find it interesting. I would love to find somebody from that culture who looked at it like, are you as touched by this as I am? Because like you already know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is not a shock to you.
Sure. But maybe they'd look at it as like freedom.
Yeah, to see, because anytime if your life is being shown on screen,
Yeah.
you should be like, yes, like show that, like how pigeonholed we are to this made up culture that we're trying to progress past. Some people, and there's same thing with every country. There's conservative people who think, no, this is the way you do it. But how many of those people are just following along a life that they don't really believe in? They just have been
right.
they've been
They didn't, like,
indoctrinated to
step
think
back
this
and
is how
look
you're
and think
supposed to
about
live.
it.
I mean, how many? And is there value? Like, I'm such a like destroy history, destroy like culture, like be who you want to be. Don't confine yourself to a culture that somebody put behind you. But I'm also willing to admit that I'm not right. Maybe that human experiences maybe there is something to that. Like you're supposed to honor your heritage. Like I don't feel that way, but I don't want to dismiss people's approach to life. Like that whole, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like you can't just say like not everybody could live the same way.
Yeah,
like
right.
yeah, different
Yeah.
cultures have those things put in place, and yeah,
But
that's
that-
for them to decide whether
Yeah.
they want to break that down or not.
But then being so afraid of like, oh, it's this we shouldn't be together. Like you only feel that way because you're worried about what your family's going to think about you, or maybe your
But
or your
not
village.
just family, it's everybody.
It is everybody.
It's so
but it's sort of,
institutionalized like culturally that it's
course,
not just
yeah,
like
right.
oh my parents won't
Yeah, like I wonder,
will
like,
make it uncomfortable if he comes over for dinner. No, it's like
is there violence?
everybody, they might retaliate against this. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
that would happen in that instance, but
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is there actual danger? Like, you can't just say, like, this is the person I'm with and I
Yeah,
love them. And it's like,
right.
are you risking somebody's life by doing that
Yeah.
in that culture?
Yeah.
So I don't want to dismiss that, but I would be like, yeah, run away. Like, go to America. Figure out a way to get to America and be together because we don't care here. Easier. I'm not saying just do that. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But
I liked like when it opened and it was being narrated about the city, and
Mhm.
they said like they wanted this to feel like home. They wanted to call this city home, but they couldn't.
Mumbai, right?
Mumbai, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to give, like, if somebody comes across this and hasn't seen the movie, but it's unlikely that they would watch this. But yeah, it's just a couple nurses in Mumbai, or two nurses and a kitchen worker, and kind of their lives,
Mhm.
with their love lives and their working life, and yeah. So I guess that's like their. I was trying to relate to us, like that's in New York City. There's money and there's work in the city of Mumbai. So they leave their villages where there's not money and not work, and hopefully get a job there, and they can prosper. But to a certain extent, you think like if this is prospering, the way they lived was, there's small areas, and if they consider that prospering,
Yeah.
like they not have these extravagant homes and lives because they
No.
moved to that city. They just are able to put food on the table and have shelter. So you think about like, man, what must life in their village be like if this is
They had bathrooms, like functioning bathrooms. They had a kitchen that they could cook.
yeah.
They did they showed the roommate situation, so they weren't necessarily still able to live alone,
Right.
and have their own place, but it was still nice enough and
Yeah.
comfortable
So,
and dry. They showed like how much rain,
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, this movie should have came out on
through-
April 10th though. Should have came. This is a perfect wet day movie.
Wet day.
That's an inside joke for absolutely nobody that's going to see this. Yeah, I was wondering if it rained that much. You said you think it is
Yeah,
a rainy part of the world.
at least like seasonally, like
Yeah.
monsoon and
Yeah,
stuff like
it's
that.
almost like the director heard that because for cinematography, if you're filming at night, it's always best to wet the ground. Like a post rain scene is because you get some reflections, you get extra lighting just from the water, the wet road reflecting. It's almost like the director heard that and was like, raining? Let's do it all rainy. Like the whole thing was at night, rainy. Like, was
Yeah.
there there was very little footage that happened
When
during the day in light
at
and
the
not.
end.
Well, yes, when they went to the village, it was light.
Yeah.
And was that? I'm just
Mm.
considering this now. Was there a reason for that? Was living in the dark? Was that? But they painted living in the dark in Mumbai, and then they moved because another thing I thought the end of the movie was like, this village is beautiful,
Mhm.
and I think they tried to get across that while it might be hard to make money in the village, it's a relaxing life. It's a
Yeah.
peaceful life. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful life. It's like
And even
there's a community that you
Yeah.
actually know there, and it's
that's interesting. Yeah.
so
Everybody just seems so much more relaxed. The woman that was going through the shit with her house, that
yeah,
was getting harassed.
uh-huh,
Even she was dancing and swimming and
yeah,
happy.
yeah. She seemed like she was like finally free,
Mhm.
going back to the village,
Yeah.
and like yeah, you might worry about where you're gonna get food from, but there's people around you to hold you up and
Mhm.
support you, and then most of the time, most of the footage shot back in the village was in the daytime, like so much so that I was having hard time keeping track of what day it was,
Mm.
because like Anu and her boyfriend met and then they split and met again. I guess that was the same day. I guess they split up and they met back the same day. But that was almost like showing you how much light was in the village. It's like everything here is light. There's no rain. It's daytime.
Mhm.
But then it was dark again when she was with the man that she recovered. That was almost like a throwback to be like, it's dark again, because like now she's back in a dark place with this her man that was playing her.
Yeah.
She was fantasizing as her husband.
Right.
So like she was saying goodbye to him, but in a dark space again. So it was
Mhm.
almost like how much of the light. A lot of times you read into like maybe this was all. None of this was considered. It was just, oh, this city's pretty to shoot at night, and this area is pretty to shoot in the day. But
It might have had
maybe
meaning.
it might have had meaning. Maybe that was part of it.
Yeah. I like that interpretation.
Yeah. I felt, I felt bad for the doctor. I wonder, I would have, you don't want to see every part of the story being told, but was she going to go back? Was she interested in that doctor? And was her hesitation only because she was married, or was she really not interested in him at all and was using the excuse of being married to be interested, to be.
Yeah, no, it seemed like she was interested in him, and there was this kind of forced,
Because she was
pushback.
jealous when she thought Anu was flirting with him during the cat.
Immediately,
She was annoyed.
like,
And she was like, I don't know why I acted like that.
She called her a slut. Like, she's
Yeah.
like, don't, yeah, but he was so sweet, and he made her those desserts, and like,
Yeah. I mean, a little
she took
poem,
it, and you
dessert.
could tell she like smiled a little. Yeah, the poem, and she read it in her house, in
Yeah.
her little apartment.
So I hope she
by
can
the
get back
window.
before that he moves.
I know. He's
And
like,
what a sweet
give
way.
me a reason.
Yeah.
Do I have a reason to stay?
What a sweet way to ask somebody if you're interested in me. Like, you're literally the only reason I would stay here, and I would stay here if you were interested.
Mm.
But otherwise, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
But if I had you here, I would feel fine being here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a reason to stay.
Mhm.
Or do I have a reason to stay?
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I like it. Like, I left being like, oh, yeah, it was good. It was nice. But I feel like, yeah, the more that I talk about it, I was like, I think it might have been a great movie. Yeah. But I definitely was watching it being like, oh, good. Finally a movie I don't love. Because I hate coming on and being like every movie I love. I guess I didn't love Conclave either. But you want to feel like you have some discernible taste. Not that you just, every movie you're like, that was a good movie. So I was like I was excited that I had a movie to criticize. But yeah, I definitely ended up liking it more towards the end.
I liked the cat in it too. I liked that they no. I'm saying this because of course, like any cat in a movie, I would be like, oh my god, I love this. But I feel like from what I've heard about like countries like that, maybe I'm wrong, but animals really aren't like
Loved
like that.
Like pets like that.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but yeah, it was nice to see that like taken care of and like
Yeah, you hear like, people from other countries come here and see how we treat our animals, and they're like,
yeah. Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the animal sleeps in the bed with you, or like
Mhm.
they're
Because they
they're like
made
their
a
pets.
point to be like, oh, this cat is part of their
Yeah,
family.
like I'm gonna
They're
care
like,
for this cat.
yeah, I'm gonna care for it. I'm gonna take it to the doctor, and like, you know, I don't know. They were like, oh, where
Yeah.
was it today? And
Yeah, right.
oh, it's hanging out downstairs. You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I liked that.
Oh, it's cute. Yeah, it's a cute cat too.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah, that was all we imagine as light.
Yeah.
Yeah, God knows what it means, but I'm happy that we saw it.
Yeah. Me too.
Anything else? No. When we shut the camera, we'll think of something else.
Yeah, we'll come back.
And we'll come back and edit. I don't think this movie's worth firing up the camera again. But all right, thank you so much for watching, and we hope that you like this movie as well.
Bye.
Bye.